Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 169. We're a podcast that talks about pop culture things that interest us. And sometimes there's whiskey. My name is John, and I'm joined as always by Andrea. How's it going?
Good, good. I'm just doing that thing where I like check out my own appearance on camera because I just came from a softball game. So I'm like, all right, not too sweaty Betty, not too bad.
Sometimes, it's like when you're at the Renaissance Fair, you have an excuse. So it just fits, So
Right.
you have an
Right.
excuse, if you're tell everybody you're sweating and you slid into home base here.
Right.
It's like, yeah,
Right. Well, yeah, if I'm really roughed up and all dirty and stuff, I can just be like, I was really trying to show Hot D what an extra should look like as a
oh,
peasant.
man. Did you read my comment, or did you say something you'd say something separately?
I didn't say anything, but I definitely thought it during that crowd scene. I was like,
Okay.
"These guys look pretty hale and healthy for
Yeah.
peasants."
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, notes to the makeup department, maybe, rough them up a little bit more next time.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, we will get into that. If that doesn't tell you, that's gonna be our main topic of
Mhm.
discussion tonight. House of the Dragon, we'll be covering episodes 3 through 5. So it's a little, sometimes we 2 episodes at a time works out nicely, but in the name of not getting too far behind, because I think 2
Mhm.
episodes will work well for the next show. So, yeah, work out well. Because then, let's see, Yeah, then maybe a separate episode for the finale
The finale, yeah, it's only
and
8.
everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we'll get into that before too long. Just so everybody know, we are not on X tonight for some reason. It was saying we didn't have the right kind of, account for that. So, apologize there. We are on Twitch and Kick
Mhm.
and YouTube. So,
Mhm.
jump in any of those places wherever you're watching. Thank you for being here. Um, and then we'll be back. The next thing we'll get another anime show going on the anime channel soon too. So, and looks like we're maybe talking a little anime on this show as well. So, yeah, all kinds of things coming. Okay, before we get into Hot D, let's talk about our weeks and drink holidays.
Yes, there are quite a few. So if you're a person who enjoys some booze at the end of July, they've got you covered with a variety of holidays. I'm going to run through them pretty quickly. We've got July 10th, Pina Colada Day, 11th, Mojito Day and World Rum Day. 12th is Michelada Day. 14th is Bastille Day and Grand Marnier Day. 19th is Daiquiri Day. And just 2 days ago, probably a favorite holiday of mine, Tequila Day.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep,
I
just
still
going
get
through the list.
that's no, that's perfect. And funnily enough, my drink doesn't fit in any of these categories. So,
John,
I know.
what are you doing? You had so many options.
I know. I did. Quickly, I just want to say thank you to Jingo532 for following over on Kick. Much
Hey,
appreciated.
hey, hey.
Um, okay, so yeah, it's a lot of things. You said tequila day, maybe your favorite. Are you imbibing in tequila then tonight?
I am. I was planning on it anyway, and then I really felt it because I was driving home from my softball game quite a ways away, and on my playlist came up a song that I have not heard. I forgot I had, and I have not heard in quite some time. It's a little ditty called Patron Tequila, and
Okay.
it is I think a one-time hit from some like forgotten girl band. Um, they do have Lil Jon on there, and he is classic Lil Jon.
It's
Just
him, yep.
yeah, like all over the place. So that just sort of like cemented it. I was like, this is meant to be.
Okay,
So I am celebrating Tequila Day. I am celebrating with something called a watermelon tequila spritzer. It
sure.
is tequila, watermelon juice, lime juice, a little bit of sparkling water, for which I chose watermelon lime.
Mhm.
Seemed
Okay.
fitting. And then a little bit of simple syrup. And that's it.
Nice. It
Yeah.
sounds really
No,
refreshing.
it
I
is.
forgot
After a
got
hot
water,
day, 2
so
softball games, it is perfect.
yeah. It's you got a good sized vessel there too, so
I do. I
plenty to
do.
plenty to last you for the show. Very nice.
What you got as your non-drink holiday drink? Do you have whiskey?
Yeah.
Are you yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So, I
good.
mean,
So there you go. You're sticking with the show theme here then at least.
oh, well,
We are a
yeah,
podcast,
right.
sometimes there's whiskey.
Sure. Sure. Um, I just felt like I had to, being this is the first, it's my fault for us being a little delayed in the show, and I was gone in Kentucky on the Bourbon
You
Trail.
were.
And so I had to pick up one of the bourbons that we got there. This is a
Oh,
different Angel's
nice.
Envy. So
Yes.
this is an
I've had that.
Angel's Envy. This one's finished in port wine barrels. So it's
Okay.
110 proof. Um, so this is one of the ones that they were selling exclusively there.
Nice.
Little different version. And we
Yes, I
got
should clarify that when I've said I've had Angel's Envy, I have not had that particular kind,
yeah, I mean,
obviously.
well, I've always had whatever Angel's Envy bourbon you can get in the store regularly,
Mhm.
and then there's a rye, and I've enjoyed their rye
Yeah.
as well. But we got this one, and I'll have to I don't know. We got 2 more, and maybe I'll just show them on the show as I use them yet. So we really didn't go crazy with buying whiskey. We got
Mhm.
1 as a gift and then, 3 for ourself. So I think that's not too bad. Our suitcase was already overloaded. We were
Mhm.
waiting in line, we get up to the thing, the person was not very, enthused, and set the suitcase on the scale. She's like, it's overloaded, it's overweight or whatever. And I
Mhm.
said, "Okay." So, "Well, it's gonna be like $135." I'm like,
Whoo!
"Well," I'm like, "Okay, I mean, what do you want me to do here?" Like, I don't have a choice, because I can take the thing and try to go ship it via
Yeah.
UPS or something. That's gonna be real hell of expensive and then
Yeah.
take however long. So, I just yeah, that's what it was. It's like, I have no choice here. I'm not leaving my whiskey behind. And
Yeah.
so,
I love
yeah.
it. Not the whiskey. Take a
Yeah.
child, not the whiskey.
So, yeah, we got it back. But anyways, I am putting that in. I sadly and probably foolishly did not buy a mint julep cup.
Oh,
I should have
sure.
gotten one. That's one thing the one thing I should have got. So I have a copper vessel which will do this similar thing as the
Mhm.
silver one that you would traditionally drink a mint julep from. And then I also don't have crushed ice, and I didn't crush ice because the kids are asleep. So it's ice cubes,
That's
and
a
I
smart
just
sacrifice.
I let them melt some more. I stirred it a lot, So this
Sure.
is just the bourbon, 2.5 ounces of bourbon, ounce of simple syrup, muddled mint, and I put muddled blueberries in there as well for
Hmm,
fun. So
nice. Well, cheers.
yeah, cheers. This is quite refreshing too, and I got one. I had for sure one mint julep down there, and it really wasn't that great. Took
Sure.
the advice of a tour guide, and he's a really good tour guide, but he was wrong on that. So, yeah, wrong on that. Anyways, those are our drinks. Um, if anyone out there is having a drink as well, tell us what you're
Yes.
drinking.
Well, it sounds like
Okay.
you had a fun, vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Weather cooperated. I obviously didn't get a lot of shows and stuff watched, but
Mhm.
I I did also we barely made it back, though, I will say that, because I was prepared to stay in Kentucky for a while, for till the next flight or whatever, because they had
Oh,
that
were
whole
you
problem with
yeah, were you guys caught up in that?
yeah, and the sort of the tail end of it, it seemed like, or whatever, and, they were having things back in line, but they overbooked our flight, which they always do, but
Mhm.
during this whole stuff, it was an issue. They had people they thought enough that had agreed to do a different flight. But
Mhm.
then we get up there, our seats aren't assigned. They send Alan out into the plane, and then they send him back because he has no seat number. So we're waiting there, and they're like communicating with the plane. Do they have a seat or whatever? They eventually give us a seat. We go in. I'm like the last one on the plane, basically. No, I am the last one on the plane. And they're telling me there's no seat left. There's no seat left for you. So I'm standing up front like a dunce. And the
Ugh,
issue was there was
awkward.
a Russian woman that had a infant ticket, which
Okay.
I guess means you have to hold the child. It's not a
Yeah.
separate seat. She
Yeah,
thought
unless
she
you
had a
pay for
separate
it.
seat, right.
No, unless you pay for it, you're the
So
last
they had
child.
to take the kid out of the car seat thing. The mom had to hold it, and they carried the car seat all the way to the front or whatever. So then I had to squeeze in next to the um show me next to the woman with the 3-month old. So yeah, that doesn't really speak English
Right.
and is on
And
our
also
flight
is
back.
probably salty that she thought she had a seat and now she
Yeah,
doesn't.
Well, I'm sure she'll be more salty because I think there was some miscommunication where she did pay for that. So,
Oh.
I don't know for sure. I'm sure no one's
Oh.
interested. But she
I
was
mean, as a
very nice.
parent, like,
Yeah.
I
I tried
am. I'm riveted right now.
I tried to do everything I could to help her, It's just
Sure.
like, because it's like, "Oh, you're gonna be." I mean, the flight was short, fortunately, whatever.
Right.
The kid did well, but it's just like
Good.
you only have your hands are occupied. So, like,
Mhm.
helped her with her food and move the stuff around and with
Yeah.
the toys and get her bag and
That
stuff
was
like that.
nice of you.
Because flying by yourself with a 3-month-old,
It is
I mean,
rough.
just like,
I
y getting your bag down from above or whatever. Like, good
Mhm.
luck.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah, no, I thankfully did not fly by myself with a 3-month-old. I flew though with, Everett when she was a year, by
right.
myself. And
Yeah.
it sucks. It really does cuz there's no way to just like do that very smoothly. She was a lap, infant, and we were just going to Boston, so it wasn't like the world's longest flight or anything, but yeah, it's tough. They
Mhm.
just they're wriggly, you don't have your hands free, you're trying to keep them
Yep.
occupied. If they dump a toy, like, "Oh god, where is it?" Yeah, forget, like,
Yep.
trying to get your carry-on down, like, at least, Everett could, like, sit upright so I could, like, sit her down and then get the thing
Sure.
down, but, yeah, there were kind people on my flight like you as well, who helped me, and yeah, as
Yeah,
a
'cause you
mom flying solo, cannot overstate how kind it is of people to, just take a beat and be
Mhm.
aware and be helpful.
I couldn't really, communicate well with her, but I showed her a picture of myself
Yeah.
with my 2 kids just to, like, show her, like, "Hey, like, I get it, if
Yeah,
your
I'm a
kid
parent,
cries or
like, yeah,
whatever, I have 2 little kids
cool.
too." So, that was the
Mhm.
message there, so, yeah,
Well, cool, that was
yeah,
very nice of you.
but all went well, so,
Good.
um, okay,
Glad you made it
well,
home.
yeah, that was I mean, that was my week. It was Kentucky pretty much. I have, like, 2 things I'll mention quickly here. Um, one is Arcadian. It's a movie I watched for a horror group a couple nights ago, and it's a Nicolas Cage movie. It was actually one that Alan brought up, as a movie, a new Nicolas Cage movie. It's on AMC Plus or Shutter, and
Mhm.
then I brought it to the horror group's attention or whatever, and people seemed interested, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't know what to expect. It's sort of a post-apocalyptic kind of thing, which there are many types of things, but
Mhm.
they do a good job of keeping this as a sort of personal story. It's like Nicolas Cage and like 2 boys that he's raising in the
Mhm.
apocalypse, basically, or post-apocalyptic scenario. And they don't,
Okay.
like, bother explaining really how things have come to be, but there's some really good shots in this, and, it's
Mhm.
well acted, kinda top to bottom.
Mhm.
Um, there's some it's not overly scary, but there's some unsettling moments, and the monsters are very unique. So,
Yeah, I was
yeah, if
just
you
looking at,
have
like, the creatures here,
yeah,
and they're creepy.
yeah. So if you have AMC Plus or Shutter, I definitely recommend checking it out if you're into a horror movie. It's not super long. Um, it's nothing I don't know, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just solid and, effective. So, yeah. Alan says it's a little like
Nice.
Bird Box or A Quiet Place. Yeah, it is. But
Yeah, that's
I
that's
haven't
what some of
seen
the
Bird.
the reviews have mentioned.
Yeah, it's less. I don't know. Quiet Place is so harrowing and devastating. I guess this isn't that like it's
Sure.
heartfelt, but it's not so devastating. I will say,
Sure.
and I haven't seen Bird Box, so
I actually
and
haven't
then
either.
Yeah, that's the blind one, right? The Sandra Bullock or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah, yeah, where you, like, can't look, you have to be
Yeah,
blindfolded, yeah, and she's, like, guiding 2 kids. Because Quiet Place is the one where you can't make noise.
right. Next one's you can't smell. Yeah,
No,
put the
I was
nose
gonna say
plugs
next one's you
on.
can't talk.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta wrap it around your mouth.
Yeah, you can make all the noise you want, but you can't speak any
Exactly,
language.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then kept going on some Bond stuff. I finished Skyfall finally. I
Mhm,
did read a little Doctor No on the plane.
mhm.
So I'm still going on that. Still very good. And then Batman Failsafe comic book from a little while ago. I don't know if this one's still going. But it's I just thought I'd try it. I haven't read anything newer Batman in a while. Thought I'd take a look because
Mhm.
the art's really good. And the
Sure,
art is really good. The story is not it's just not what I'm looking for from a Batman story. I'm kind of
sure.
over the really expanded Bat family, making the Batman book like a kind of a Justice League thing. I like the true crime detective noir kind of thing. And so this very much isn't that. I don't need all the Bat family drama all the time, that sort of thing. So there's this attitude where people say it too, like in making the movies as well. Like the villains can never be more interesting than Batman. We got to keep Batman interesting, and they reach to try. I just don't. I don't see it that way. Like make a good story, and
Right.
then you can. Batman is a vessel for which we experience all these zany, crazy villains and stuff. So,
Sure.
but yeah, that's all I've been up to. What about
Hmm.
you?
Sorry, I was just, like, looking around on, X because I just before as I was, like, kind of putting out our show, um, announcement that we were just gonna go live talking about Hot D, I saw this post, I almost called it a tweet, post
Hmm.
about, like, a Batman redesign that was, like, the worst ever, and so I was looking for that again, um,
Oh, hmm.
just because, it was quite interesting to me. I don't know if you can really see it
Oh,
here.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, so I forget what it's called. That's like Batman Ultimate or
Yeah.
Unlimited or something like
Let
that. I definitely did see that over this last week. I will say the redesigns of Wonder Woman and Superman to me look much more interesting
Sure.
than Batman. Um,
Yeah. Well, and I'm just looking
again,
at
I'm
this one, like, the wings/claws look kind of interesting, but, like, the weird, like, black patch that's supposed to be like a square bat on his chest, it's terrible. That's
sure.
stupid.
Too.
I agree with you there.
There, Alan says absolute Batman. So it's
Okay,
absolute
absolute
worst.
Batman. Thank you.
So, but like, here's
Is he
Superman,
sponsored by vodka?
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's not as, um, it's
Oh, there
not
he
as
is.
detailed,
Yeah,
I mean, like, I don't know. I just like the piece,
yeah. I
and
mean, that
then
looks fine, like, there's nothing, like, I hate about it.
there's Wonder Woman riding on the thing, so
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that looks good. Again,
I it
can't like I don't see anything I hate.
right. And, maybe that image will, because here's the 3 of them together,
Oh, sure.
so
Yeah, it doesn't look quite as bad. I really don't like the logo, I think is my biggest issue
sure.
on Batman here. Especially in this photo, it looks particularly odd. It's just like a black square.
Mhm. Right.
Um, Also, he kinda looks like he's wearing some booty shorts, instead of like the traditional, you know?
Yeah, to the
But,
briefs.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean,
Mhm.
it's an odd one, but, you know.
Yep. I got
Anyway, sorry, I distracted us. I was just looking at that because I was wanting
no,
to
that's
see that
fine.
again.
I because I wanna be, you know, like, there's some things I have big problem with changes and other things that I'm more lax about. And I've said it before, it's just when something has been around for as long as something like Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman has been,
Mhm.
I expect them to play around with some stuff. Like,
Yeah, of
I
course.
still want the thing like, the version that I love to be made, but especially when it comes to comic books and multiple storylines or different universes or, like, I'm reading Batman Gotham by Gaslight right now. It's a what if Batman was in
Mhm.
Victorian era, and we do that story.
Mm, I like it.
And yeah, that stuff is, I don't know, it's fun to play with. I'm okay with that.
Well, and here's like another post that just like shows like the evolution of different Batmans. So
Right.
obviously like everybody, I mean, given this and this clearly doesn't even touch all of them. Um but given that it's just like obviously you expect redesigns. Obviously you expect to, liven it up, shake it up every once in a while. Of course, like nobody is saying you can't. But
Yep.
yeah.
I
Some are
just
hits
I
and
always
some are
think
misses.
yeah, I just think of
That's just
going,
the way
"Oh,
of
what
it.
if you went through, the Bond for longer?" And you start with the books, and then you saw Connery in the movies, and that's pretty
Mhm.
different, and then you moved into Roger Moore, and it's like, "What have they done to my character?" Like, my thing that I love, and so in
Yep.
hindsight now, we're like, "Well, we get to pick and choose the things we like."
Yep.
But going through the motions, you'd be like, "Wow, I really taken a misstep there." So,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
Yep, which happens, which happens.
Yep. Yep.
They're not all gonna
Okay.
be home runs. Keeping it in
Nope.
the baseball,
In
softball
your
analogy
baseball,
for
so
tonight. Yeah.
Yep. Um, okay. Well, yeah, that's been all my stuff. How about you? You got, fun things happening?
Yeah, so, I realized I didn't put one thing on here, that I did in our kind of, like, couple of weeks that we've been since the last show. It was Pokemon Go Fest, and
Oh,
I
okay.
did that. So, yeah, I took the weekend, they just do it now. They do have, the sites that you can still go to and stuff like that, but we just, played here.
Sure.
Um,
Yep.
that is one nice thing I think they've kept. I think they started that during the pandemic and have, been pretty chill
Sure.
about like, you get extra special stuff if you go to like I think this year in the States it was New York. So you get extra special stuff if you go there, but you can still play at home. So we did that and we played with a couple friends of ours. Um, and then that night there was like a freak thunderstorm, hailstorm that trapped
Mm,
one of our friends here at our house until
okay.
like midnight. Because I mean, it was just coming down. Like it was almost, I would say, somewhere between nickel and quarter sized hail at one point.
Sure.
So it was pretty hefty. So then he was like, "Oh, let's watch a movie," and he decided that he wanted to have us watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. After
Mm,
I'd mentioned I'd been meaning to watch that for a really long time, and he was like, "Well, now's the time."
sure.
So
Okay.
we watched that. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm so glad I finally just like sat down and did it because it's been like in the back of my mind as something I've wanted to watch for a really long time. So
Sure. Yeah.
excellent movie. I think it definitely is one of those movies that can speak to people on a lot of levels. Just in the terms of like anybody who's ever had frustrated dreams is not living like the life that they thought that they would. But it
Mhm.
also definitely like hits a different note as a parent and as a mom. There's an element there too, I think, that is really especially meaningful. Um,
Okay.
and it's very unexpectedly funny. I don't know. Have you seen it, John?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Is it on something
There's
right now? Is it on a streaming service? I think it
Yeah,
was
it's on
a while ago.
Netflix. It's on
Okay.
Netflix.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm.
There is one element to this movie that is surprising and poignant and wildly unexpected, and I, like, just absolutely cackled with laughter, like, old school, just let it loose, because it was just not something I was expecting, so, yeah,
Sure.
well done movie.
Action sequences, good?
Sorry, I think I'm
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me
cutting
now?
up a little bit, weird.
Can you hear me now?
I
Can
can
you
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Alright, now it stopped it.
Okay.
Yeah, very excellent action sequences. I mean, anything you would expect, of course, from Michelle Yeoh. Like, she just, like, kills in action sequences, so I really enjoyed that.
Nice. Well, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's I mean, it's been on my list too. I don't know when I'll get to it.
it is a bit of a longer one, so it's,
Is it?
it's one of
Okay.
those things. Yeah, I mean, it's not, like, horrendously it's not, like, 3 hours or anything, but it's not, like,
Sure.
hour and a half,
Yeah.
like, where it just feels like, "Oh, yeah, we can just sit down and
Yeah.
watch that." But yeah, I mean, I don't think I have to tell anyone that this is a great movie because, yeah, it's a great movie, and it won the awards
Yeah,
to prove so.
I think I've only heard one person say they didn't like it. I don't remember who that
Mm.
was, but they seem to be the odd one out.
It started in a way that I wasn't quite expecting, and I wasn't sure I was gonna like. It was a little, like, piecemeal and odd, and I wasn't sure that I was, like, gonna put everything together and make, like, a really interesting story, so I could get how it'd be off-putting, um, because it's not a very traditional narrative, and you have to
Sure.
make some leaps with the characters, so I get how you could be put off by it, but I thought it all came together really well.
Okay. Nice. Well, very good. Alan will be
Um
happy.
Yes, yes, I know. He's been saying that, like, forever, Alan, and
Yep.
I really I truly have been meaning to watch it and just, like, ugh, couldn't find the time, and then, yeah, just sat down and did it, and I'm glad I did.
Perfect.
Other things I sat down and watched, and I'm glad I did, the final episode of Kaiju number 8. Ugh, such a good season. I went back and watched, like, the episode before the finale as well because I just wanted to because it's so good.
Sure.
Um So yeah, so I was super pumped about that and the way that ended. And then I'm so close to finishing Delicious in Dungeon. It's really grown from like a silly, cute cooking anime with monsters into like something a little bit deeper and darker. And yeah, I'm really enjoying that as well.
Okay, good. Oh, maybe I'll
So
jump
yeah,
into that as soon as I'm done with Free Ren.
do it.
Um,
Well, as soon as I'm done with that, I'm gonna make the switch and jump over to Free Run. So
okay.
trade you.
Well, hopefully this next week we can do our Kaiju number 8 episode.
Hmm.
Uh, we did talk about I just saw this in the news. We talked about Apothecary Diaries before, and
Yeah.
like the artist for that or something was potentially facing jail time because I don't know if it's the artist and writer or one of the two, because for tax evasion. And
Oh. Oh.
but
Well.
like the Square Enix is like, we're keeping this going, and they've put like a postponement basically, like, it's fine, you don't have to go to jail, just be really good. You have to pay your fine, and then you can keep doing your thing. So it's like, wow, really,
Uh,
it really went from like dire to, oh man, they're going to jail, and this
sure.
this series is done for now. To
Right.
nope, business as usual. Just you know,
I love it. The IRS is a super big fan.
yeah. Well, yeah, whatever the version of the that is in
Yeah,
Japan.
I know. Yeah.
The government, I'm sure they stepped in and said, "Hey, now let's make an exception for this one. This is an
Right, right.
important export."
Exactly, an important cultural export.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, not wrong.
Mhm. Mhm, mhm. Okay, well, speaking of something important to me,
Yes,
George R. R.
Ellen, and
Martin's
now on to
world.
the bear. Sorry,
You
as a
didn't
pause
you
before.
started The Bear, right?
I did. I've watched 3 episodes, and I really do need to get back to it, because
Okay,
it is amazing.
okay.
Um, I did love, though, that, like, a lot of the, God, what what award show did it just get like a million nominations for? Was it the Emmys?
Uh,
It's something.
I don't know.
It just got
The most recent one, like
yeah, what
Fallout got nominated for a bunch of stuff too. I don't maybe that was
yeah,
fun.
it's the same show. Is it the Emmys? I feel really dumb right now.
Alan said the first season received 10 primetime Emmy awards, so
It
stands to
did, but
reason.
I was just nominated for like 33 awards or something for like the an upcoming award show. Um, but yeah, so I love that like half of the chatter is around like how many awards it got, and then the other half of the chatter is like, how long are we really going to continue to call this a comedy? Because it kind of isn't. Um,
Sure.
so there's been some
Yeah.
kind of like rumbling about like this might be in the wrong category because it's a little more
Yeah.
like a drama than a comedy right now.
Yeah. That's I don't like that. I do not like the kinda lumping
Okay,
things
23
into a
nominations, not 33, but yes, it is the Emmys. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that.
yeah, I don't like the lumping things into comedy. Just like, oh, comedy and
Right.
musical and, whatever the catch-all other thing.
Mhm. That is what it feels like. It's like, no, it should really like be its own thing. Like
People when I see stuff
honor the art
from The
form.
Bear, like clips or whatever, it does not ring as comedic. It
Mhm.
it's,
I mean,
I
there
guess
are
someone's
some
saying it's some sort
funny
of dark
parts.
comedy, but right, but
Yeah.
anything can
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah, overall, I mean, you know, take it from someone who's watched 3 episodes, it does not feel like a comedy,
Right.
even though it is,
It just
like, funny too.
it just makes those awards and those nominations feel silly, I mean, right here,
Mhm.
so, like Alan shared,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
surpassing 30 Rock. 30 Rock is clearly a comedy.
Yeah.
So now you're taking away awards, or like accolades, rankings from an actual
Mhm.
comedy for your award, and then
Right.
you're feeling demeaned because you're winning a thing in a category. What I can't cut it in the drama category, you know? So, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is I don't know how they would classify that, like, what were the criteria, you know what I mean, for, like, moving it to a comedy instead of a drama? I don't know.
It's like it's we like this show a lot, but it's not good enough to be in this other category. So if we put it in this other category, it can win things. I don't know. It's I don't know.
I
Some friend of
yeah.
someone.
I mean, I don't know either, but it would be interesting to know sometime, like, how they
Yeah, what
classify,
the
like, shows,
discussion
especially,
was.
like, on the borderline, like, there's some shows you just know, like, nobody is saying The Office is a drama, you know?
Right.
Um, but yeah, for something like this, it would be interesting to find out how they were like, "No, let's move it into the comedy
The
category."
press should be asking those questions.
Well,
Someone
they
should
are.
pin them
Now
down.
now they're now they're kind of like, what is it doing in this category?" But
Yeah.
yes,
Okay. Well,
the truly big stories.
firmly not in the comedy category is anything in the Game of Thrones world. And so that
Uh,
would include House of the Dragon.
yeah, super I mean, overall, again, some funny parts in these episodes. I'm not gonna lie, the taking over of Harrenhal was one of my favorite,
Mm.
invasions of all time. That was hilarious, comedic gold. But yes, on the whole, not funny, these
Yeah,
episodes.
I mean, speaking of covering, in season 2 here, episodes 3 through 5, uh, uh, Damon taking over Harrenhal, I really liked that sequence. It was
It
shot
was
very well.
hilarious.
The
Hilarious.
way well, I mean, before that, because, like, it's him, like, stalking through the hallways. We get a flash of
Yeah,
lightning as he's at the top of the stairs.
he
Um,
battles a few people.
does he Oh, yeah,
There's, like, a couple soldiers that he,
yeah,
is, like,
yeah, yeah,
walking through and just,
yeah,
it's like they're terrible. He's just so, like,
yeah,
strolling through basically.
yep. But it made me wanna play Elden Ring right then. If that's what it
Sure.
felt like this would be a place that you would enter in Elden Ring. And then, yeah, then the big reveal of like, "Oh, yeah, we're just having dinner here, and this is what's left." And, of course, we knew what, had, in a sense, become of Harrenhal from season 1.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but yeah.
It was I mean, the whole thing was hilarious. You're right. It was totally like this big approach, I'm on Caraxes, I'm stalking Harrenhal, I'm coming in from
Yeah.
above, getting all silent, I'm stalking through the halls, taking down their guards, and then I'm opening the doors, and they're having dinner, and they're just like,
And they
"Hey,
just
cool, come on in.
"We
Like,
swear
have the
ourselves to
venison."
you." Yeah.
Yeah. Have the venison, and I loved the, like, "No, I'm not gonna get poisoned, like, I'm not eating your dinner, I'm not gonna be felled by poisoned peas." Oh,
Right.
just all of that was chef's kiss, excellent writing, and then this whole character of, Sir Simon Strong, who is, holding down the fort, as it were, at Harrenhal, while Laris is away was excellent. You could just tell he's like, "Yeah, I am here. I will kinda be your second, gonna give you all the info. Laris sucks," which you as the audience all know, so I'm gonna,
Yeah.
back up that opinion, and, yeah, come on in. Come be king.
Was it, um but are we still under the impression that it still belongs to, Lyris,
Yeah,
or it does? Okay.
yeah, yeah, I mean, not anymore because Damon officially is like, "I
Right,
took it." But
right.
yeah, the guy
Mhm.
was definitely a steward, even though he hated Laris, he definitely was like, "Yeah, Harrenhal is technically his." And he took all the gold when he left, but yeah, he was kinda like, I feel like he was like a steward, but in this and, like, the castle was technically Laris's, but in the sense of, like, I don't expect to see this guy back from King's Landing ever. Like, he took all the gold, he doesn't care. He
Right.
murdered his dad and his brother here, he's not, like, coming back to live here.
Yeah.
So, I'll be here.
Mhm. Um, Damon needs to, I mean, if it was me, this is some very, like, you know, let's see, what's the Shakespeare movie we just watched last year, on Apple TV Plus? Um
Oh, Macbeth?
Yeah, this is very Macbeth, the feeling,
Yeah.
all the ghosts and visions and stuff. I'm just, kind of going mad here. Damon needs to sort this shit out because these voices are not helpful. As we're seeing, especially in this last episode, things get uncomfortable. And
Too
I,
far, man.
eh,
I mean, I know
I
this is
mean,
the universe that brought us, like, the featured brother-sister incest love story, but this was so too far. His
it,
mom. Like, well, ugh, ugh.
yeah.
I can't.
Well, he didn't know, and she's fake. So I mean, like,
I
it's
know, I
the
know.
thing is to F with him, and this whatever's creating the visions, if you wanna think it's the ghosts of the castle,
Mhm,
uh, or whatever, is no ally to him, and, it's making him look crazy, and it's making him
mhm.
go crazy, and if it was me, I would be thinking, "Hey, it's this really suspicious woman here that,
Yeah,
like, has her all like, whole brew station, and she's always
yeah.
coming in, she's saying little things, she mentions my mother, all this stuff. I how long is Damon gonna, like, put up with her?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't really feel like she's the issue, because I mean, she could be totally, she could be a witch kind of like engineering these visions or helping them along or helping whatever like creepy spirit floats around Harrenhal. But I mean, this is getting old for me because I feel like as Damon's character, it makes sense that he's sort of listening because sometimes these spirits are saying things he wants to hear. Like his mom was like, "You're my favorite. You should have been born first. Like you would make a great king." So it's like things he wants, and he's clearly like kind of tipping towards like, "Well, I've always wanted to be king, and maybe I'll just be king and renew
That's what I mean. He's
my,
getting seduced.
Right, exactly. So like he's not having a particular problem with it. I, as an audience member, am very bored by it. I don't find this entertaining. I'm not really feeling like this is a great plot point that I really want to explore for too long. The visions are just getting weirder. Um, and yeah, it's making him look weak. Like it's making Rhaenyra look weak because she's like, where the hell is he? Like, what is he
Yeah.
doing? Like her side, the blacks are like losing right now. And I don't need them to like just, you know, flip a switch and just start winning everything. But I need something good to happen for the blacks here. I
Sure.
know Game of Thrones can be a bleak universe and, your favorite characters always don't get their happy endings. And believe me, I've read the House of the Dragon lore, so I know, it's not all sunshine and roses at the end of this. But I need some momentum shifting because right now the Greens are getting everything and it is tiresome.
Yeah. Yeah. I do agree this is getting a little boring. I think that maybe I don't know, they're in a tough situation. Like should this season be even shorter? We'll see what happens in the next coming episodes because I feel like we could just take more time away from Damon so we don't have to continue visions. We understand that's what's happening right now and he's at a
Right.
standstill, but how long are we going to see then Rhaenyra get pressured asking where's Damon and then for us to
Right.
not have a follow-up. But it seems weird that again just spinning the wheels,
Yeah.
it feels like nothing is happening there and I guess that's the frustration. You're stuck. You're trying to get two peoples that have been at each other's throats for a long time, and so one is not going to come along with you. Um,
Mhm.
and that plot point to me was a little confusing. So
It was a
we
little
could go into
weak.
that a little bit. Well, okay, so the I forget their names.
Bracken and
The
Blackwood.
Yeah, they're not gonna bend the knee, and so he's talking to his guy that did, and he's saying, "Hey, maybe have you tried being persuasive as opposed to just like fighting him?" And then there's like sort of a knowing look between the two, and then
Right.
he departs. And it's like that wasn't a plan. Like I don't what do you know between each? Like what exactly are you
Thank you.
communicating
Thank you.
telepathically here? Um, because then he
Yeah.
goes off
I as
and
a
yeah, I don't know.
I as an audience member was like, "So what is the plan? Are we like,
Yeah,
you know, threatening them? Are we paying them? Are we, going to get them drunk and,
right.
I don't know, taking them to a
And then
whorehouse and
signing
be like,
titles and
"Hey,
deeds.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
let's go. Let's be cool, man." Like, I
uh,
don't like
that's
I
on
had no
us.
idea what the hell was happening.
Yeah. So then it seems like we have a thing where they're like stealing women and children,
Mhm.
and somehow that made them say, "Okay, fine, we give up," or something. But then they
But it
storm
didn't.
in at midnight, and they're like, "They did awful, horrible things. These monsters will never bow to you." So, like, was the maybe they need a little maybe Damon and the other guy need a little more than their, like, couple glances at each other to agree on what
Right,
needed to
a
happen here.
methodology.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, this whole thing felt really dumb. Like Damon should be smarter than this. Because I mean, we obviously open, this whole like 3 episode arc that we watched with, Bracken and Blackwood at each other's throats and this just like within 5 minutes this horrific battlefield. So,
Right.
full of just corpses. So they're
Yeah.
clearly just like never really coming together without some larger reason. And, Damon has the one side bend the knee, and then speaks to the other side. And I think it's Bracken who hasn't. And he's like super impressed by their, spirit, their fortitude,
Yeah.
their kind of like willingness to just be like, we'd rather
Burn
die.
me then. Yeah.
Right. And he's like, that's the kind of men I need. But how do you go from like, I need these kind of men, but the way I'm gonna inspire that loyalty is to take their women and children, and I think
Yeah.
that they'll do you know, like, that doesn't win them to your side. So,
No.
you know, that was an ill thought plan. You should have just burned them then, I mean, you would have done better. Then you
Yeah,
would
it
have
would've
just
been
been a
done better
man of
to
your
just
word.
yep. Burn them and then, like, just with your dragons,
Straightforward.
seize their village,
Right,
and
right.
you're fighting for
Straightforward.
me or the rest of you are gonna burn. I'm sure that's what the Greens are doing. You
Right,
know?
and honestly, like, I don't know, it's like a win-win because you're either gonna get them to bend the knee or they're gonna die, and now you've set them up to hate you, like,
Right.
actively hate you and probably go seek out the high towers to be like, "We hate this dude."
Yeah.
So,
Because
Damon's
if
making some real blunders in this season, and it's getting a wee bit tiresome. I feel like both he and Kristen have been I mean, I know his, like, kind of true foil is Amond, as he mentions in this latest episode, but both he and Kristen have been acting very rashly in their plans for carrying out this war, and so far it seems like Kristen has just kind of, like, lucked out and
yeah.
everything he's planned has worked, and everything Damon's done, with the exception of just, like, taking Harrenhal,
Right.
hasn't.
Yep. Yeah. I feel some of the characters' frustrations as an audience member just
Mhm.
seeing these blunders, seeing both councils just
Oof.
at
Suck.
standstills. So just, you know, I guess we see that like on in King's Landing, that council anyways, it's like when the king would leave, it's like they get down to business. It's like, okay, now we'll discuss, like the whatever. But
Right.
otherwise, it's just been kind of painful.
Mhm.
I mentioned in one of the things like there seems just be no leadership hardly anywhere,
Yeah.
because even people that
Rhaenys is really, the leader on the Black Council, and I think Alicent is supposed to be on the Green Council, and then she just keeps, like, getting undercut by either her own son or Kristen, who's been, like, a douchebag.
yeah. I mean, the the trick and we kind of get in Alicent, we can pull that from her little speech to her
Mhm.
son there to I need to pull up
Aegon.
the names here again.
Aegon.
Aegon, and
Yeah, I can't forget the
it's
name
that
Aegon because there's, like, 12 Aegons, and that's, like, the
yeah,
whole premise of the end of the 3rd episode where everybody
right.
on their faces is like, "Wrong Aegon."
Yep, yep. But she says like, "What do you think a crown would just make you wise?"
Yeah.
And what do you think a position or a title or whatever just makes people respect you? Like
Mhm.
you can have all the good thoughts you want, you can think you're really sensible, you can have the title and position, but it doesn't people only respect you if they do. You can't buy
Mhm.
it. And so you're
Mhm.
just having this problem where people are in both these councils have to earn respect and they're really not it's not there yet.
Yeah.
And you can see on the Green Council then how they do go to Amond for they do
Mhm.
look to him and they take his word seriously. And then we got, now him voted in. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough to watch. There's a lot of cool things that have happened, but at the same time, it's frustrating in the things that haven't. And I've
Yeah.
appreciated Rhaenyra's attempt, we saw that was a long time attempt to like, okay, can we make any piece of this? And that was sort of
Mhm.
off of Rhaenys's advice,
Mhm.
hey, there's a chance here. Um, so why don't we go into that? It's like you
Yeah.
just had
Yeah.
mentioned a little bit, like the big reveal at the end of episode 3. She manages to sneak in, Rhaenyra does, and talk to Alicent.
Mhm.
I mean, that would be hard to hear, right? We get the reveal.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey, that's actually a story about someone, a different Aemond that my dad always told me.
Aegon.
Aegon.
Yep.
Oh God. Oh God. Aegon. Yep. I got the names here. Got to
Yeah.
reference it.
For sure. Yeah, I loved that. That was another, I think, unexpected comedic gold moment when Rhaenyra and Alicent were, together, and she like pulls out a knife, and they're like, "Oh, what do I do? What? You gonna kill me? No, yes, no, what? Okay,
Mm.
sit here." Then they like trade little insults, and then Rhaenyra's like, "Oh, I've begun badly," and it's like
Yeah.
understatement. So,
Yeah.
again, it's fun seeing them together. Their kind of friendly chemistry is on point. Um, but yeah, it was I think it was like a really interesting conversation, and then it's all building up to this like big reveal. And I feel like as an audience member, you kind of feel super vindicated just to like have that realization for Allison. Like you did all of this shit because you just didn't understand that Viserys was like rambling. He didn't know
Yeah.
he was talking to you. Like he was, trying to tell Rhaenyra the end of the story of the Song of Ice and Fire. And so, it's like this whole big realization I put this little shit on the throne for nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and then immediately the show just like turns around and kind of slaps you with like Allison just can't do anything about it. I won't, I can't, I won't, you're not sure. I think in the post episode interview with Olivia Cook, she's like, Allison just it's beyond her control now. Maybe true, maybe not, but she doesn't even try. Um, so that's disappointing, I think, as just like a watcher of the show where you're like, "Oh God, Allison."
But I mean, it is one of those things like a person feels when you've gone too far. You're in too deep.
Mhm.
There's no turning back. And can understand that in the situation.
I
Like
do I do too to an
people's
extent. It was just
children
so
are
like
dead, you
right.
know?
I get that too to an extent, of course, but like Rhaenyra is there. Her son was murdered and she's still trying. Like she,
Mhm.
I have,
Yeah.
obviously it would be pretty steep terms that they would have to agree to, but
Right.
she's out there trying to say like Luke is dead, but I'm still here, one last ditch effort, anything we can do. And Allison
Yep.
just like, nope.
Yeah.
Even though,
Yeah. It's
like,
gotta go.
again, as an audience member, you've seen her in the death after I can't remember if Aegon's son is Jacaerys or Jaehaerys. Um, but after the death of the little
Uh
boy, I mean,
Jaehaerys.
Jaehaerys, okay.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, because Jacaerys is Rhaenyra's oldest. Very close. Very close. Um, Obviously she was sad and she said she was sad for her daughter, but like 2 seconds after she's done telling her daughter that, "I'm so sad about this," she's like, "Hey, did you happen to see me and Kristen like having
Yeah.
sex?" So, I mean, again, like, yes, people's emotions are engaged, but like Allison's don't seem to be at that level. Like it feels like she could pull it back and get over it.
Sure. Yeah.
And clearly she thinks Aegon is an idiot that she could just like tell what to do. So, I don't know.
Well, Allison didn't order like, hey, guards, She could have ended things right there too.
She coulda. She coulda
You're
too.
not getting on a King's Landing. That's not happening,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I It's interesting. Interesting
It's
situation.
sticky. I
Not
mean,
I'm glad she knows the truth now.
I am too.
whether she'll accept it or not.
I think she's gonna continue a downward spiral this season, and I will particularly enjoy that because I think as a watcher of this show, I've not liked Allison pretty much since, the moment she acceded to her father's wishes and decided to, like, seduce her best friend's dad.
Sure.
So I think I'm gonna
It
kind of
was later
enjoy
for
the
sure.
I mean, I did enjoy the brief moment where they got to the dinner and Viserys was like, "Please, can we just?" And, she's like, "Oh, you'll make a good queen, Rhaenyra." Like, there was, like, a brief hope there, but other than that, I've you know, I think
Yeah,
Olivia Cooke does a great job playing her, and I think she is a complex character, but on the whole, I just don't like her. Um,
sure.
I don't think she's been a great friend, so I will kind of enjoy this, like, downward spiral of, like, I put a little horrible person on the throne, I did all these things, it was meaningless, it was not what Viserys wanted. I mean, even the Grand Maester after this conversation, when she asks him, she's like, "Do you think Viserys wanted Aegon on the throne?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "Well, I couldn't say." Like, that is so
Yeah.
code for no.
Yeah. Yep. Yep,
So,
exactly.
yeah. I'm kind of enjoying that downward spiral. I'm enjoying the spiral of, like, she's effectively pushed aside as regent and realizing she has, like, nobody on her side. Kristen is more in love with the power than with her. So they're clearly going to be fracturing and not together anymore, which great. I don't need to see that on my screen again.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Cole and things I'd like to see, have a downfall, Cole,
Yeah.
I really, like, you know, Rhaenyra really had a chance there when they were caught Cole was caught out in the open, but the directive was don't engage. They were on
Oh,
horseback
Bela.
and
Bela.
yeah, and it was on back dragon
Yeah.
back, and she could have burned those bastards,
Yeah.
and, she doesn't, sadly, and then we have a giant battle that's going crazy, and everyone's getting cinched, burned to a crisp, melted in their
Oof.
armor, and Cole survives.
I
Ah,
know. I
on the sea
know.
melt. He's just, ugh, I
I know.
dislike
I was so
him so much, and I was very disappointed he lived. He's got a dumb
I
haircut
know.
now.
I know. I know. I was excited too. My note is, "GD it, I wish Cole had died." After
Mhm.
that after the battle at Rook's Rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess let's stay on kind of Kristen's arc right now because he's had quite a few things going on, some really great victories and then some really dumb miscalculations. So yeah, obviously he's on this campaign in the Riverlands. That's all going super well. Um, which sucks for, people who are fans of the Blacks. Um, but he's got some people around him now who are kind of like some are supporting and some are undercutting. Supporting obviously is Aemond. They've clearly been plotting together for a very long time. The way that they would like
Yep.
this to go. Aegon says at one point, like, "Hey, you guys have been plotting behind my back," and they're like, yeah,
Mhm.
because we don't we don't trust you." Um, and then yeah, then on the other side, he's got Allison's brother, Gawain, I think his name is,
I
who
don't know his
seems like
name.
I
I like him
I
though.
think yeah, I like him too. He seems like, pretty smart. And I mean, obviously post his like idiotic, like, we're gonna go stay in an inn and almost get
Right.
ourselves killed by a dragon. Um, but to be fair, I mean, he hasn't been around the dragon, so he's not really, I think, thinking about that very clearly. But in the other moments in these battles, he seems pretty smart. Um, like Kristen tries to bait him into like charging in and getting killed, and he's like, "No, it's not about fear. I'm just not an idiot."
Yeah, your
Um,
king has arrived, like, he's
right.
uh,
Um,
okay.
Yeah, and then, when they make the horrible miscalculation after Rook's Rest of, parading Meleys through the streets, and her brother is smart enough to be like, "This is bad." Like, people are not reacting to this like, "Ooh, cheers, you great victory." They think this is like a bad idea, and we should
Mm,
not be
yeah.
doing this anymore. So he's clearly like a smart cookie, in terms of like, feeling the temperature of the room and knowing what's a smart move and what isn't.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that he just out of nowhere appeared here. And so it made me wonder, like, is this gonna be, is Allison sending him out to he's like eyes and ears for her,
Think
reporting
so.
back sort of thing? But we haven't seen
Yeah, I
anything
mean,
come of that.
yeah, I don't know if it's like as direct as that, but I definitely think she sends him out or like encourages him to go out with Kristen as like a, you know, keep an eye on him. I don't think there's like full trust between Allison and Kristen. And obviously now they're like pretty much
Yeah.
fractured beyond repair now that he didn't support her claim for regency.
Relationship
Um,
status, it's
so yeah,
complicated.
so oh, it's more than complicated. She told him he could not call her by her name.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, enjoyed that.
But she gave him her handkerchief.
Oh, but I mean
Yeah,
before,
as before. Yeah, as before. Yeah.
before,
Even
um,
that was
yeah,
reluctant, it looked like.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely not the eager schoolgirl, at the tournament, kind of, giving the knight her
Mm.
favor. It was a little like fine,
Right.
a little reluctant. So yeah, but whatever, it worked. Unfortunately,
I had that moment in the last episode. Is like, oh yeah, he's Hand of the King. I completely forgotten that. Like, it was just such an unworthy character for that role.
well, it's just such a dumb thing to, like, have your head of the King's Guard be your
Yeah,
hand and then
it's
also
just
be the
foolish.
guy leading the war charge, like,
Yeah,
that's a lot of people to lose if he dies.
yeah, right.
Also, petty side note, I hate his little hand chain. It's so stupid looking. Just wear the pin,
Ah,
dude. Just
mhm.
wear the
Yep.
pin. Ugh, yeah. Speaking of
Mm.
hands who are not stupid though, uh, I liked in this last episode that Rhaenyra thought to make Corlys her hand.
Yeah. Well, so we might as well talk about all that and lead into that dragon battle then. But
Yes.
so that's an interesting pick. He's obviously someone that is respected. Um,
Mhm.
so I think he could bring some order to the
Mhm.
council there if he
I think
partakes.
he's got
But
some age and
yep,
wisdom. Her
battle
counsel is
experience.
pretty young. Battle experience, yep. Things that she doesn't have.
Hmm. So yeah, I think that's nice. It's a good choice.
Mhm.
Um, we also learned what that the guy that saved him is probably his bastard son. Is that the
Yes.
implication there? So that was an interesting development for that character.
Mhm.
What do we think comes of that? I mean, is that like going to be because he mentions, uh, boy, I don't remember her name now, but who gave him the box with
Bela.
saying hand, Bela. So, he's saying, I would make you
Mm,
my heir. And she's like, yeah, but
finally.
I'm a fire and blood
Mhm.
and you need, an heir of salt and
Saltancy.
yeah. So it's like, does
Yeah.
the bastard become the heir?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a nice moment because it was, Corliss finally honoring what Renice had been nudging him to do the whole time, and saying, like, you should make Bela. There's nothing wrong with making a girl your heir. Like, it's all good. Like, she's fantastic. And she is. She, like, whips Corliss into shape, I think, in this little speech that she gives to him. Um, I think acknowledges the hurt and the deep sense of loss that he feels with the death of Rhaenys. But also says, you can't just like slip away and just, ignore the things that she would have wanted and ignore the people who are here that mattered to her and that should still matter to you and to this fight. So I think she did a great job, and it was really nice to see him
Yeah.
kind of, like, acknowledge that and, like, say, like, "I would make you my heir." And it was, very logical for her to say, like, "Listen, I appreciate it. I'm a Targaryen kinda, gal,
Yeah.
and you need a different heir." So, yeah, so that does open it up for this, like, bastard line of his to come in and take over Driftmark, and it opens up a larger plot point that we've been getting to all season, um, which is the dragon seeds, which are,
Mm,
the bastards or the children of, lesser Targaryen nobles who are
yeah.
gonna become very important because as we're closing this last episode, we see Rhaenyra say, like, "I have all these dragons and I have no riders." And
Yeah.
so this is where they come in. So we've
Yeah.
really been doing, like, a slow, um, on
Oh, you
that
broke up
on
there.
that concept.
Slow build up on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we've been doing a slow build up to that plot point, and that's really gonna, I
So
think, start here.
who else? Who else have
Well, we've
we
met Ulf, the guy who was in the tavern and kinda, like, running his mouth about being a Targaryen and then was, like, real quiet when Aegon came
right.
in and was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And then I'm I'm pretty sure this, like, unnamed or if he's been named, I haven't caught it, blacksmith character who has the
Okay.
sick daughter who is, like, trying to
Sure.
leave. He's got, like, the silver hair, so he's
Sure.
gotta be somebody's, somewhere along the line.
Yep.
And then, of course, you know, I think Adam and I can't remember what his brother's name is, who saved Corlys and are
Okay.
his,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
um so those are 3 right there.
Sure.
I don't know
That'd
if
be
we've been
probably enough.
catching any others.
No, that would make sense because some of the things have seemed out of place until
Mhm.
they're not building somewhere. So, but that was definitely a question in my mind at the end of the episode. It's like, okay, well, who is this be? But yeah, those three make sense. Now just a couple of them finding them, or what means of communication do you have to like, hey, calling all people with like
Right.
Valerian or Targaryen blood, uh
Right.
you just have a line, a mob of people, it's like, we'll check your midichlorians, see. Um,
I mean, pretty much. I mean, Chris and I were kind of talking like, how exactly do you know how much you have to be a dragon rider? Because obviously Reyna, yeah, Reyna, Bela's sister, has tried, and apparently, according to Rhaenyra, it didn't go well. So
yeah,
I
almost
don't
died
know
or
what
something.
that means. Yeah.
It might
And
be that
obviously
she's not
young.
bold enough. Yeah, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, not bold enough. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know what it is that like makes, a dragon submit. They're very not clear on that
Right,
concept. And it's definitely not like dragon and rider are always destined for one another. It's not like,
right.
because dragons can have multiple riders. Like Vagar's had like how many,
Yeah,
they're implying that Vagar is so old
yep,
that she's had a
yeah.
lot. So
Yeah, so they
yeah.
should know a good rider when they see one. Like,
Hmm.
I hope they don't explain it. I like if it's up to instinct or whatever, and the idea that you have to, you know, potentially lose your life. It's kinda like becoming a
Hmm.
witcher, it's like you'll take the potion or whatever, you take the thing, and you might die from it, but if you don't,
Hmm.
then you'll be a witch, so you have to be willing to stake that. Um,
Hmm.
there's no guarantees. So,
Yeah, I mean, I like the uncertainty. It's just, obviously, you can't like point to a magic formula and be like, "Oh, well, this is a very
yeah,
explainable plot point."
yep. So,
But
yeah,
yeah,
the
oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, just going back to say, yeah, the Corliss stuff, excited to see where that goes, and then with
Mhm.
Bela, I feel like Bela and, Jacaerys are they feel like good, hopeful, stewards
Mhm.
for the future of the family.
Yeah, they're making some
They
smart moves.
Yeah, they're willing to make some moves themselves. They don't seem too irrational. They communicate and well with one another. They seem to have,
Mhm.
like a respect and rapport between the two of them. So I
Mhm.
just they feel like the family, if things can work out with them too, it's like there's a reasonable hand in charge. You
Mhm.
can see it's like at least, you know, one of these people, Rainier, can have a decent, a couple people can have decent children. Like they
Mhm.
were involved in their lives and stuff. It's not like an Allison. It's just like failure, failure, failure. Like
Oh, I know.
just Jesus, it's really so
Yeah, I mean, I Allison's failures as a mother are just I mean, not I guess not even as a mother, just as a parent in general, are really on display in these episodes. I mean, for one, she has that whole like talk with Aegon where she's like, you think just because you're a king, like people should listen to you? And
right.
she takes him down a peg, but also at the same time, at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, like, this is your son. Like, he's an idiot,
Yeah.
partially because of you,
Yep.
because you ignored him and allowed Viserys to just ignore him.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
not like
And
you did anything to make this situation better. In the last episode, she's like really understanding the true nature of how awful Aemond is, how
right.
vicious. I mean, he like basically is very aware that he's going to at Rook's Rest set Aegon and Sunfire on fire and does
Right.
it. It's
Mhm.
very clear to everybody. Um, and he's just like, bummer. And then he like sits there on the ground while Sunfire and Aegon are both potentially dying and just like doesn't do anything, just kind of
Yep.
watches them and then takes Aegon's knife. And then he's like, hey, I think I should be regent.
Yep.
And at the end of the episode, Helena's like, was it worth it? So
Mhm.
like clearly knows, like, he
Yep.
planned some of this, and Alicent is just, opening her eyes to how truly horrible her son is. It's like,
Mhm.
again, you did that too. I mean, not all
Yep.
of it. Some of it's just, like, his personality, but, like,
Yeah.
didn't really give him any good examples or, like, good guidance, and now he's plotting with Kristen as his,
You're right.
like, partner, and
The
clearly the only
empathy
warmth
with
he's ever known from the prostitute that he first
Yeah.
slept with.
Yeah. Yep. His now stand-in mother
Yeah,
slash
exactly.
cuddle buddy, whatever, yeah.
Exactly. Did you get, like, some Homelander vibes? I got some Homelander vibes in that scene where he
Oh,
was, like, because of
yeah.
Homelander's, like,
I can
early obsession with, like, his, like, mommy
Yeah.
figures.
Yep.
I got
Mhm.
some of that. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the empathy would immediately go to Alicent if we had seen over the course of the series her really attempting to like show a greater concern for her children than
Mhm.
for the machinations of the capital here,
Right.
and leave that to your dad or whatever. He wants the medal, and go for it. But
Mhm.
in this season alone, we've seen at least a couple times where you have Aegon. Basically, we set up a scene to allow for her to be a motherly figure, and then
Mhm.
she just
And then
doesn't.
she sucks. She
Yeah.
blows it. Yeah.
The like comforting him when he's like by himself or whatever, the whole thing. And she just like, no, let's leave him be there. That's fine. And then when he's like, I think that was after he lost his son. And
Mhm.
then yeah, in this, second last episode here or whatever, where Y yes, she puts him in his place, takes him down a peg, but is that I she clearly doesn't know him well enough as
Mhm.
his mother to predict how he might respond to that. Like, you could say those things, but then you need to expand with, like, a caring sort of
Right.
attitude. Like, "You're my
Exactly.
son. I love you so much. You have the potential to be a great king. You just
Mhm.
need to let some of the people that have more experience here assist in making these decisions, and you could be able to
Right.
learn from them. I unfortunately and your father did not do well in preparing you for this role. That is
Mhm.
our fault. But you can get there. Just have the patience now. Have the
Yes.
patience. I will help you. The rest of the council will help
Yes.
you. These sorts of things. Like
And
there's a
Aegon.
boy there that still needed and wanted
Yes.
guidance, and no.
Yes. Yes. No, I think you've hit the nail on the head because like Aegon would respond really well to that, especially in that moment where he's feeling
Mhm.
vulnerable, he's feeling frustrated, like, why won't people listen to me? Like,
Yep.
he's all like, I'm super fearsome and I can go to battle. And like his whole council is like, "Bleh." I mean, like nobody says like, oh yeah. So he's
Yeah.
clearly like wanting that. So you're right. Like she could have come in with some harsh truths to say, like, listen, just because you're the king, like that crown on your head does not like give you the power. Harsh truth. And then walk it back with like, but I am going to help you. I'm sorry I've been absent. Really, what she has to do is kind of like apologize and acknowledge that like
Yeah.
she screwed up as a parent. And she's like, "Okay, but we're gonna make up for that starting now. I'm gonna be
Yep.
better. Like, we can move forward together and we'll figure this out and I'll be there with you." Would
Yep.
go a really long way
Yep.
because he
Yep.
is a horrible bully, but he is a horrible bully because he feels neglected. He wants attention and he wants love. And if she
Yep.
would just like take a beat and see that and give it to him, he might still be a little awful, but he would be a lot better.
Yep. Yep.
He
And
he is
that's
not
a
lost like Aegon or no, sorry, like Aemond is like completely beyond Alicent's reach. Like he is
right.
fully formed into his own person. He will not be needing her at all.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
big missed
Yeah.
opportunity.
It could have been a thing where, they get Otto comes back. This becomes more of a family affair again. We're
Mhm.
gonna, really work on this together. But you have to get him. Yeah, you apologizing profusely in order to hopefully get him to sort of humble himself.
Mhm.
And
And that was the
well,
moment to do it when he was feeling
it was
vulnerable, not when he was
that
all
was
like, with
exactly.
his stupid like Kingsguard posse and getting hyped up and like,
Yep.
"Oh, I'm so like cool." Like
One on
shit has
one.
happened.
It's not
Yeah.
in front of other people on the council.
Mhm.
Yep.
Exactly. He's already feeling shaky after the death of his son. He is
Hmm.
clearly feeling more like emotional and vulnerable. Like this was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the idea that like the actions that we take, whether you directly make the decision or not, they'll reflect you. Like they
Mhm.
assume the king is making these calls and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
if you're worried about your image, we just need to do the reasonable thing here, and you'll be fine. Uh,
Mhm.
but I just saw the image, and speaking of like not
Yeah.
being fine, so this doesn't work out. He tears into battle, ruining the
Drunk.
plans. Yep, yep,
So
drunk.
drunk.
Oh, man, and it's like I envision the cat. He was a cat just shoving his drink off the table and shatters, and it ruins the plans. But this was one of the more harrowing moments I saw on television in a
Oh.
while because Renice is one of the more sensible characters in the show, and she's right to su- suggest herself and to go to this battle. She does not know what's waiting for her. But as soon as you find out that what Vagar is there, you're
Mhm.
you're just like, oh, she's fucked. It's
Yep.
just so you're sitting there on pins and needles, like, is there some way she can survive? Can she do it
Mhm.
somehow? Because even then when she
Right? If
kills
Sunfire fucks it up enough,
right.
can she like somehow use him as a shield and get the hell out of there?
See, but that's the thing. She made that calculation because she kills Sunfire. and then she could leave. She was, like, on the way out almost, and then she looks
Mhm.
back and it's like, "But that wasn't the job." Like,
Mhm.
if I don't end this skirmish,
Or
I've come
try.
here. Yeah, right. It needs to end in my victory or my death. Like, that's what it
Mhm.
is, And, there was no way,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, I was really hoping upon hope that there was some
Mhm.
way, and that made the scene really intense. But then when it happened, it's like, and I just left the scene feeling so sad for the dragons too. It's like
Me
they
too.
didn't ask for this. And she's looking at her dragon in the
Looking
eyes,
at
like, we know,
yeah.
it's like,
Melee's just looking back at her, and I was just like, "Oh my god," my heart was breaking. I mean, you know me, I've always been the person, like, in war movies, I'm always like, "What about the animals?" Like, you know, my first
yeah.
thought in, like, all the skirmishes that are in The Patriot, if you've seen that movie, and I'm speaking to the audience because I know you've seen that movie, John, but, like, when they, like the cavalry all sticks up their swords or they stick up their poles and they, like, stab all the horses, I'm like, "Horsey!" And this was just, like, a bigger version of that, I just, like,
Yeah.
was watching them rip each other apart and, like, the dragons were screaming, or, like
Mhm.
you said, when Meleys was looking back at Rhaenys, like, "We're gonna do it, huh?" Like,
Yeah.
oh, it just broke my heart.
Yep.
Just awful. Ugh.
It's like the bond is strong there, and that's great and everything. And to Bela's point, like, she went out in the way she would want ultimately.
Right.
Like, she's not gonna be one probably that's like, I mean, I don't know, it should be okay, like, just passing your sleep in old age. I probably wouldn't have a problem with that. But in many other ways, like succumbing to a disease or something else,
Right.
like slipping on something, getting yourself cut and dying of an infection, whatever, this is like the
Viserys.
way. Yeah, this is the way you know, a Targaryen
A dragon
or
rider.
Valerian, yeah, it goes out, and so
Mhm. Yeah, like you said, though, it was a horrible scene, I mean, they've been building it up, I think, to this point in the season saying, like, "What horrors are we gonna unleash if we turn the dragons
yeah,
to war?" And it was an effectively horrible scene and
yep,
just made me cringe, um, as an audience member and just, feel the horror of these poor animals being ripped apart, being burned, falling from the sky. Um, yeah, that sucked. And also obviously on a practical side, it sucks for Rhaenyra not only losing, I think, at this point, her most valuable council member, but also, as she says, her biggest dragon.
yep,
Um, and she's like, oh, who's gonna stand up to Vagar now? Which, okay, side note, both Chris and I were like, how is Vagar still so effective? Like, Vagar is giant. How do you get that big dinosaur body off the ground into flight? It seems just, like, horrendously cumbersome. Also, Vagar has, like, dozens of holes in her wings because she is so old. Like, how is she an effective flyer? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's part of it is like they were talking about it. Is she is slower, but I think what Rhaenyra was saying, her dragon's faster, more nimble.
right.
So it's true, but
I know. It
she's
just it
she's
just
just
seemed
a
like
tank.
Vagar
She's
was
just a tank.
doing I know, it just seemed like Vagar was doing just fine, like, swooping around in that battle. I'm like, "Oh, can we, like, show Vagar's age, please?" Or, like,
Mm,
when Aemond, like, first, like, lifts off the ground and it's like, "Surprise, Vagar's here." Like, I felt like Vagar needed a lot more time to, like, get in the air. She is, like you said, she is a tank. Like, how did she just get
mm.
up?
I mean, the wings gotta grow for the size. It's not a Dragonite situation here, you know? A
That
little like,
was a good reference. Well done, well done. But no, I mean, but, like, seriously, like, because like, I felt like when, Aemond first claimed Vagar, they did that flight, and she really had to go running along those cliffs before she could like take off,
Hmm.
into flight. And here it just felt like Vagar, like I said, lifted up and was suddenly in the
I
air
don't
with everybody.
I don't really remember how the takeoff went. I would say what I was looking for, and I've seen at different times, is the greater impact on the ground from the wind of the dragon wings. Like,
Mhm.
I would like to see
Sure,
the takeoff and trees just crack. I wanna see an
sure.
impressive CGI shot or whatever of, like, these massive wings just the earth shakes type of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Like, I wanna see that. I wanna see it fly by at that low altitude, sort of thing, and people are just, like, blasted over, you know,
Right.
dust storm and whatever, all that sort of thing. I do think there should be a greater impact, from
Mhm.
that sort of thing for a creature of that magnitude.
Yeah, especially for Vagar. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
Melee's too, sure, and, to some extent, Caraxes. I think I haven't seen everybody else's dragons in kinda quite a while to feel their size, but yeah,
Mhm.
especially Vagar, it should be like, "Holy shit." Like,
Yeah.
this helping us and also getting in our way a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Um, okay. I think that was a lot of the big stuff. We have now
Yeah.
finally Allison or Rhaenyra sending one of her more vocal council members to basically check on Damon.
Mhm.
So hopefully we get some progress there. We can
Mhm.
like, will he? Won't he? Is he gonna
Mhm.
betray her? I mean, it's kind of said like, I'm gonna try to take King's Landing, and then she can come with me or not, and like we'll rule together. King, queen, whatever. I guess so. We need a resolution there. I
Mhm.
don't like the division. I would rather it be like an issue for him that he has to work with, and it's a thing between them, but it's not like we're gonna sacrifice our family and the whole like
Mhm.
operation here. Um, Potentially give it up to the Greens because of this.
Mhm.
I've lived long enough
Right.
now with this sort of regret, and it's not now that I'm going to, you know, turn heel on everything when it's most important. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, at the beginning of the season, it felt like, Damon was like, "Hey, like, you don't need to question my loyalty. Like, I put the crown on your head. I'm trying to do these things for you." And now that he's away, he's suddenly like, "Maybe I'm gonna go back and gonna pursue, like,
right.
Damon just, I feel like, needs to understand that he would be a shit king. Like, he doesn't actually want the job. Like, he was great when he was leader of the Gold Cloaks. Like, that is
Yeah.
his, like, wheelhouse.
Man of action.
Being the sword, being the, enforcer, man of action, like, he does not wanna sit at, especially at these small councils. He does
Oh,
not wanna
pull
be
your hair
there.
out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I feel like he just needs to, like, wrestle with this and get it together in short order because I am tired of the, like, I still maybe wanna be king plot point. And I'm tired of the, ghosting and the haunting at Harrenhal. Um, the one other thing I do wanna mention is I am kind of looking forward to seeing what's happening in King's Landing. The one other kind of hanging plot point we have is Mysaria as, Rhaenyra's master of or mistress of whispers, and she
Oh,
sends her servant into King's Landing to kind of like stir up the small folk, who are already stirred up, obviously, at the ill omen of the dragon being paraded through the streets. Now, Aemond made the very potentially silly decision to like shut them in King's Landing and not let them leave, so they're going to be
yeah.
upset and restless. At his rule, I think he did do the smart thing of cutting down the rat catchers, but
Yep.
you know one success, one mistake. So
Yeah.
let's see if whatever Masaria's plan is can build off of that, and I'm interested to see what happens in King's Landing that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I really want to see what happens if with these other dragon riders because things are
Mhm.
looking pretty glum for the blacks, the reds there, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
be a big surprise, big shot in the arm.
yeah,
We got some
because
new
they
dragons.
have been mentioning, like, all these dragons, like, Sea Smoke obviously, has been riderless since Lenor, quote, unquote, "died." That would be interesting if he comes back.
Yeah.
I don't believe that he will or does, in the lore,
Right.
but it would be fun. Um, but yeah, we've got Sea Smoke, and then they just named 2 new ones, Vermithor and Silverwing, as
Mm.
potential dragons that could rival Vhagar. So they clearly are gonna be, now that they've been named, I think they're gonna be getting dragon riders here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I will be interested in, like, rival Vagar, like, is that legit or just, "No, they're bigger dragons and together," you know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
because
think
I
I
feel
think
like
V I think Vhagar is still gonna be bigger.
mhm,
So I think Balerion is, like, the biggest dragon that ever was, and Vhagar's, like, number 2,
okay,
if I'm remembering dragon lore
mm,
correctly. I mean, don't quote me, but yeah,
yep. Okay, well,
we'll
I'm excited
see.
to watch the next episode, see what happens here, ready for some stuff to move on, and,
Mhm.
um, yeah, it's gonna be crazy, I bet it's gonna be crazy. Okay,
Yeah, only
well,
3
that's
episodes left.
I know, it's gonna be hard to wait for whatever's next. Cause is it are they saying it's gonna be one more season? I thought.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
don't
I mean, I'd be cool with that.
I'd
I
be
think
cool
we
with that
could
too.
I think we could I think we could wrap it up in 1 more season.
Yeah. What's the book this one's based on? It's an actual book, right? Not just like a lore book. Isn't there a written novel? Or am I mistaken on that?
Uh, I think yeah, there is a book, I don't remember what it's called.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right, but
Season
it
3.
might be fun to read sometime. I'd be hard to read Game of Thrones knowing it's never gonna be completed, but
It
oh,
is soul crushing.
I do want to throw it out there because we mentioned in chat before.
Sure.
Um, if anyone else is interested, let us know. You gotta tell us that you demand it. That Andrew and I rewatch Game of Thrones
Oh,
from the
yeah.
beginning through maybe season 5, up for discussion, and then we have to come up with our own outlines for how we would wrap up the story.
Mhm.
This just feels like a monumental task, but it's not the minutia. It's like let's write down the character, the storylines that are open yet, the threads that are hanging there,
Mhm.
and the major gist of things. And how do we make things, satisfyingly conclude and logically conclude? And we could plot it out in as like season format, as many seasons as we want, or just like larger bullet points, whatever.
Okay. Yes. We should do that. Let us know if you'd be interested. 2 quick things. It looks like House of the Dragon will be continuing into season 4, and that will be
Okay.
the last season.
Okay.
They're planning to keep them to 8 episodes, I think,
Okay.
to kinda, like, keep those seasons short, which cool with. And then also, Fire and Blood is the book.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Could
Okay.
not think of that, which is, like, dumb because it's super obvious, but
Yeah. Well, it just I just thought it sounded too similar to the song of Ice and Fire or whatever. So it's
right.
like Fire and Blood. Is that really just is that their motto or is that also just the name of the okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. Well, that's been that. That's been Popcast on the Rocks, episode 169. Um, yeah, stay tuned. I mean, I want to do an anime episode. I'm hoping to do a kaiju
Mhm.
number 8 one. Maybe even
Mhm.
squeeze one of those in somewhere real soon because I feel like we can get in next week. We can get in 2 episodes of Hot D or whatever. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll see because we're behind one now, and there'll be a new one in just a couple days. Then it'll be 2 episodes out. So
I love it.
yeah, yep, I'm excited. So make sure you like, share, subscribe in all the places. YouTube, Twitch, Kick, X, wherever we're on podcasts, directories, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Our video version is available on Spotify. Thank you to Killing the Flower for our theme song. You can check them out on music streaming services. And MJ Honeybee, she's back streaming Dead by Daylight. She just did sort of a, I don't know, fun event with a couple other people. I think it was just yesterday. Did a couple different games in that as well. So MJ Honeybee. Um, Mike, our friend Mike, Track Mouse 34 on
Mhm.
YouTube and Track underscore Mouse on Instagram. You should follow him for sure right now because he is away racing. He's going to be, that's this weekend. I think they did some preliminary stuff today, but otherwise, I'm sure he'll be putting updates probably on his social media. So, probably on Track underscore Mouse on Instagram. You should check that out. You can also just follow Grid Life on YouTube, and they'll have live viewings and commentary and all this stuff of the races and some of that. So you'll look closely, you might see his car and our anime podcast sticker on it. So yeah.
Our one and only current sponsorship.
Yep. Yep. Okay, that's it. Andrea, thanks once again for joining me. See you next time.
Of course. As always. Cheers, everybody.